joining us today. Today we'll be talking about Navigate Business Solutions Merchant Services. Primarily, we'll be overviewing the credit card processing. This module will cover the following parts. We'll talk about the market overview. We'll highlight our partner, Elavon Processing. And we'll talk about who we can sell to and what territories. Also, we'll discuss the primary parties involved and how the process works. We'll go into detail about the processing value chain, and we'll talk about some examples on how to calculate a savings and commissions. We'll wrap up discussing the different paperwork for enrollment and talk about some frequently asked questions. And then most importantly, we'll wrap up with our $500 guarantee. In Training 1, we covered the benefits of electricity for certain markets. The great thing about merchant services is that you're able to sell in any state, including Canada and Mexico. Roughly 80% of all retail customers pay with their credit or debit cards. Merchant services has transitioned from a payment tied to revenue generation. Let's take a look at our bank and processing partners. U.S. Bank is the 5th largest bank in the U.S. with over $355.4 billion in assets. This is significant when it comes to offering competitive rates and underwriting deals. Elavon, the merchant services processor, is a global provider of merchant services processing over 2 billion transactions on an annual basis. Easy, computer froze. As mentioned before, we can sell our merchant services anywhere to anyone, big or small. As long as the merchant takes credit cards, we can save them money. Here's a select list of Elavon's global clients. When it comes to processing credit cards, there are 5 main parties. You have the credit card schemes in Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. You have the banks that issue the cards, like B of A, Chase, Wells Fargo, etc. You have the card holders like you and me that use the cards to make purchases. You have the credit card processors that carry the risk of insuring money as it changes hands between the banks and the merchants and vice versa. And finally, you have our clients, the merchants themselves. Processing in a nutshell is simple. A merchant will swipe their customer's credit or debit cards as payment for their purchases. At the end of the day, the merchant has to generate a report of all the processing transactions and send it to Elavon. This is called batching. Elavon then funds the merchant for the several transactions the next day and presents the transaction to the card scheme, whether it be Visa, MasterCard, or Discover, for funding on the next day. The banks that issue those cards will then fund the card scheme. Every time money is funded to a party, there's an element of risk or a transaction fee. The merchant is responsible for paying that transaction fee. Because of our large portfolio of clients, we have been able to negotiate reduced fees and rates, allowing us to compete with any credit card processing deal in the market and guaranteeing the merchant saves money. Here's an example of a very small retailer that sells arts and crafts. As you can see, there are multiple line items the processor can charge this merchant. We're talking about discount percentage rates, non-qualified surcharge rates, authorization fees, monthly fees, swipe charges, monthly security fees, batch header fees, and admin fees. As you can see, these fees are driven by how much money the merchant earns off of processing and how many times a credit card or debit card the merchant swipes. Again, we have full control over the percentages and the merchant swipe fees. So in this example, we reduced the merchant's percentages from 1.59% all the way down to 1.25% for their discount percentages saving them $48.52. The merchant for 857 swipes typically paid 18 cents per swipe. With us, we're able to get them down to 12 cents per swipe, saving that merchant $51.42. All in all the savings added up, we saved that merchant $215.35 for the month. What it means to the lead agent for this small account is the lead agent will make between $25 and $35 every month just for saving the merchant money on his or her merchant services. When we look at a larger deal, perhaps a local restaurant, we're looking at a larger dollar amount of revenue, in this case $93,654. That revenue was generated by processing 2,838 merchant service transactions or swipes. Simply by reducing the percentages of a discount percentage from 1.59% all the way down to 1.25%, we saved the merchant $318. By reducing the swipe charge from 11.5 cents to 8.5 cents, we saved the merchant $85. All said and told, we saved the merchant $388.60 for this particular month. The lead agent, in turn, earned roughly $46 as a monthly residual. As we mentioned before, merchant services are everywhere. As long as that merchant is accepting credit or debit card, they're a qualified lead. There's some things to keep in mind when you're talking with a merchant. First, we must understand the type of point-of-sale system or the POS system the customer is using. We're also interested in the current processor and plant. We'd also like to know what type of business the merchant is, as it helps us identify risk. Again, all leads and opportunities are open for servicing, but we'd like to guide it towards certain businesses like restaurants, bars, hotels, hospitalities, because they produce large transaction amounts and large receipt amounts, all leading to bigger savings and bigger commissions. The enrollment process is pretty straightforward and easy. There are only 4 main documents that we must have filled out and signed from the merchant to enroll the account. Number 1 is the merchant application. It's basic business and contact information of the merchant. A personal guarantee statement will have to be signed by the business owner or decision maker. This essentially is guaranteeing that the merchant will pay all the merchant services fees on a monthly basis. The bank information form highlights their banking information, routing numbers, and account numbers. It enables Elevon to fund the merchant its money. And lastly, we'll need a voided check to help verify the banking information. There are many questions that a merchant can bring up. These are the frequently asked questions. What about my current hardware? What happens if the merchant already has a credit card machine? He just wants to enroll for additional savings. That merchant may keep their current card swipe system. If they need a new machine, in most cases we'll supply them with new hardware. In the case that the merchant is currently in a contract with cancellation fees, you'll typically, and this is on a case-by-case basis, be able to buy that merchant out of their current contract and pay off their cancellation fees. We just ask that you guys, as business consultants, understand that the economics of the deal are positive, meaning we'll make more money in the first year than what the current cancellation fee is. It only takes 3 to 5 business days for a merchant to fully enroll and get switched over to Elevon at the reduced fees. For all Elevon merchant services, the merchant is asked to run their batch or their transaction reports by 9 p.m. As long as those batch reports are completed and submitted by 9 p.m., the merchant will get funded by the next day. If the merchant has any questions, you as the Navigate Business Consultant is the first point of contact. We have full technical support, both online, over the phone, or in the field from Elavon and here at Navigate Business Solutions. Money, we pay out all residuals on a monthly basis by the 10th of each month. Most importantly, we have a $500 guarantee. We are so confident in Navigate Business Solutions that we can save the merchant money when it comes to the cost of merchant services, that we're willing to guarantee it. If we can't, we'll issue the merchant a $500 Visa gift card. With that said, that concludes our PowerPoint presentation on merchant services. If you have any questions, please let me know.